Assalamu alaikum. Welcome my students 10th grade again to your English classes. In this video we're going to have language focus 2 in your student book pages 79 and 105 and page 70 in your workbook. Today we have one objective, which is learn must have, can't have, and might or may or could have. Now you need to open your student book page 79. Our title is must have, can't have, might or may or could have. You all have to know that must, can't, could, might or may, they are all modal verbs. Now we're going to start with the first exercise. Here we have to complete the examples from listening on page 78. Here we have an example. It's easy to believe that a giant might have built them. What about the next? Humans can't have built it either. It's just too big. Number 3, could a giant have built this causeway? Number 4, he may have built the enormous causeway so that he could walk across the sea. The last sentence or example is the local people say it must have been a giant. Now let's move to the next exercise. Here we have to look again at the examples in exercise 1 and answer the questions. The first question, what verb form follows the phrases in the box? If we move back, we'll see that the form is built, built, built. Here we have built and been, so past participle. Number 2, are the examples talking about the past or the present? Of course, about the past. The next, match the models from 1 to 3 with the meanings from A to C. First one, must have, which is mean, I think this is the only explanation. Can't have, which is mean, I think this explanation is impossible. The last one, might, may, or could have, with C, I think this explanation is possible, but it isn't the only one. Here are the answers. This is an introduction for our lesson. Now please move to page 105. Let's start with the first point. We often use must have, can't have, might, may, or could have, plus past participle to explain why something has happened or suggest what we think has happened. So we are talking about events have happened in the past. Like my parents can't have forgotten my birthday, so they must have planned the surprise. Another example, he may have asked Angelo or he might have asked Paolo. He can't remember. The next point, we use must have when we feel our explanation is certainly correct. Like, she isn't answering my texts. She must have gone to bed. So we use must have when we are sure about something happened in the past. What about can't have? To reject explanations for what has happened. So can't have is the opposite of must have. When we are sure that something or event didn't happen, like she can't have told him. She doesn't know. We use might, may, could have when we feel our explanation is possible correct. So we are not sure about the event, if it happened or not. Like, I might have left it on the bus. I don't remember putting it back in my bag. And they may have gone to the pool. It's very hot today. The last example, Ben could have decided not to come, or perhaps his train is late. We can also use could have to suggest possible explanations for why something has happened. Like you could have downloaded a file with virus, so we'll check that first. We can form yes or no questions with could plus subject or modal verbs plus subject plus have them the past participle, like could aliens have visited our planet without us knowing? And we can form WH questions with the question word. Then the modal verbs must, can't, might, may, or could, then have, then past participle, like why might she have kidnapped him? I thought it was a tyrant. Let's watch another episode. And where could mom have hidden my trainers? Now I'm going to show you 2 slides that can summarize our lesson. The first slide is this slide. Modal plus have plus past participle. We use this rule when we are talking about events have happened in the past. Here we have must have plus past participle when we are almost sure about events happened. What about couldn't have plus past participle when we are sure about events didn't happen? The last one, which is could or may or might plus have plus past participle, when we are not certain if something happened or not. This slide shows us the interrogative form. So we can ask by WH questions or without the WH questions, with modal, subject, have, and the past participle for yes or no questions. Let's see the examples. When must he have taken the flight? Or without when, must he have taken the flight? Here the answer must be yes or no. And couldn't he have sold the car? Yes or no. The last example, what may or might or could she have finished? Or without what may or might or could she have finished? Now please move back to page 79. Here we have to match the beginnings and the ends of the sentences. Be careful, here we have 2 questions. The first one, what was that noise? And the next one, where's John? He said he'd be here at 8. These are the beginnings in the first question, and these are the ends. Let's start with the first one. It might have been the branch of a tree with C. It's windy and there is a tree outside in the window. Number 2, it can't have been the cat because she's sitting here with me. The last one, it must have been the neighbor's kids. It's Halloween and they're out trick or treating. Number 2, where's John? He said he'd be here at 8. The first one, he must have got stuck in a traffic with the roads are really busy tonight. Number 2, he may have gone to the supermarket. With A, I asked him to get some milk for the morning. The last one, he can't have got lost. He's been to our house a million times. Now you have to open your workbook page 70. Let's start with the first exercise. Circle the correct words in the table. To talk about possible explanations in the past, we use a modal verb plus infinitive or have plus past participle. Yes, modal verb plus have plus past participle. Number 2, we use must or can't or might, may and could to say an explanation is the only possibility. Of course, we use must. Number 3, we use must or can't or might, may and could to say an explanation is possible. We use might, may and could. The last one, we use can't to say an explanation is impossible. Number 2, circle the correct words. The first one, you must or can't have seen the Yeti. It doesn't exist. So here we choose can't have seen because it doesn't exist, so it's impossible. Number 2, the lion in the woods might or must have been a domestic cat. It's the only explanation. So it's the only explanation. Here we have to choose must have been. 3, it's possible that the strange object in the sky could or can't have been a UFO. So it's possible. So could have been. Number 4, I thought she might or must have been French, but I wasn't sure, so she might have been French. You have to complete 5 and 6 as the same way. In exercise number 3, we have to write sentences with the prompts in brackets to answer the questions. The questions here, how did the thief get into the house? The answer is, he might have had a key. Number 2, why didn't the alarm go off? The thief must have switched it off. Number 3, why didn't he steal the other painting? It may have been too heavy. Number 4, when did the robbery happen? It could have happened on Friday or Saturday. Number 5, why did the police find his fingerprints? He can't have worn gloves. You have to complete 6, 7, and 8 as the same way. The last exercise, we have to complete the text with must have, can't have, or might, may, could have, and the correct form of the verbs in the box. Stonehenge, the remains of 2 huge stone circles, is a prehistoric monument in the south of England. Scientists analyzing the stones say that the Neolithic people must have built it between 2500 BC and 1500 BC. They brought enormous stones from walls, a journey of about 385 kilometers, but they can't have transported the stones all the way on land because they were too heavy. Experts now think they took them most of the way by sea and river on boats. Everyone agrees that Stonehenge must have been an important monument because it's so big, but no one knows exactly what it was for. There are various theories. It might or may or could have had religious significance, or people might or may or could have buried their dead there, as many bones have been found because of how the sun shines through the stones. Others say that the Neolithic people might or may or could have used Stonehenge as a solar calendar to follow the changing seasons. One thing is sure, though, it will always be a mystery. That's all in our class, my student. The deadline for your homework is on Wednesday at 2 p.m. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.